Howdy! Welcome to this practical Git tutorial series. In this series, we'll take a very practical approach to the daily workflows of a software developer working on a project. In this video, we'll introduce version control, learn how Git emerged as a useful tool, and go through some of the features and basics that will help us understand how we can use Git in our workflows. This will be a command line tutorial. There's a plethora of great Git GUI tools out there, but the GUIs are only ever going to implement a subset of what's possible with Git. So for everyone, I'd recommend they learn the command line first. That way, if you're in a sticky situation, you have the fundamentals to figure it out. So, version control. Version control records changes to files over time, so we know what changed when and by whom. Practically, this helps us jump between states if we need to, or roll back changes to a last working version if something goes wrong. Long ago, at the beginning of version control time, we have local versioning. Individuals applying their own methodology to version their own files, often prone to error. Next came the centralized version control, which enabled collaboration with a unified source of truth stored remotely. The drawback here was that there was only one copy of the data on the server, which was not great in the event of an outage, as work couldn't be submitted. Then came distributed version control, which essentially enabled collaborators to each have a complete copy of the repository, meaning they could commit changes locally, even though they were off the network, and could push their changes to the remote server when they were back online. Git is an example of this. Linus Torvalds, the founder of Linux, is a creator of Git. The Linux project previously used BitKeeper, a proprietary distributed version control system, but Linus was driven to create his own when BitKeeper no longer granted him free use of the tool. So, what is Git? From the previous slide, we learned the TLDRs that Git is a distributed version control system that helps users manage changes to files over time. Most commonly, it's for versioning source code, but it can really work for any type of file. With Git, it's easy to revert changes if there's been a regression, and Git can even help narrow down with commit by section which commit introduced a breakage. With commit history and commit messages, you can see the contributions others have made. It also helps with conflict resolution when merging or rebasing, among other things. So how does Git work? So the most important thing you need to know when you're using Git is that there are three main states for files: modified, staged, and committed. So when you're working with an existing repository, you'll first clone and check out the project. When you first go to change file in your working directory, it'll be in a modified state. Typically, after you decide you want those changes, you'll then stage them. After you've staged the changes that you want committed, you'll do a commit, which commits only the staged changes. With this understanding, we'll move on to the initial installation of Git.